The text message on the screen made my blood run cold. I read it 3 times, each word burning itself into my brain like acid. Tuesday, 3 p.m. He will be home alone. Make it look like an accident. No one can suspect anything. The date stamp showed it was sent 2 days before my son died. 2 days before David fell down the basement stairs in what the police had ruled a tragic accident. But this was no accident. This was murder. Premeditated, calculated murder. And the person who sent this message, the person who had orchestrated my beautiful boy's death, was his own wife, Serena. My hands shook so violently I nearly dropped the phone. This ancient device had been hidden inside a baby blanket sewn into the mint green fabric I had knitted with my own trembling fingers for my granddaughter Lily. Earlier today, I had watched Serena hurl that blanket into the trash with such vicious hatred in her eyes that something inside me had screamed danger. I had dug through that garbage like a madwoman while my daughter-in-law stood there looking at me like I was pathetic, like I was a crazy old woman who could not let go. But I could not let go. Some primal instinct had driven me to rescue that blanket, to bring it home, to discover the hard, rectangular object hidden in its folds. And now, staring at message after message plotting my son's murder, at explicit photos of Serena with another man taken while she was pregnant with David's child, at bank transfers showing she had paid $200,000 for my son's death, I understood why she had been so desperate to throw it away. This phone was a confession. A detailed record of every evil thing she had done, and she had almost destroyed it forever. But before I tell you how this nightmare unfolded, before I reveal the monster who destroyed my family, I need you to understand something. If you have ever lost someone you loved, if you have ever suspected that the truth was being hidden from you, if you have ever felt that burning need for justice, then stay with me. This story will shake you to your core. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling me what you would have done in my place. Because what I discovered in the days that followed changed everything I thought I knew about evil. Let me take you back to the beginning, to 3 years ago when my world first shattered. It was a Tuesday afternoon in October when I got the call. David, my only son, my brilliant, kind, beautiful boy, was dead. A terrible accident, they said. He had fallen down the stairs in his own home, struck his head on the concrete floor of the basement, and died instantly. He was 32 years old. I remember the sound that came out of me when the police officer spoke those words. It was not quite human, more like the wail of a wounded animal. My neighbor, B. Adams, heard me from across the street and came running. She held me as I collapsed, as my legs gave out and my heart seemed to stop beating in my chest. B had been my closest friend for 20 years, a sharp, no-nonsense woman with steel gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. She would become my anchor in the nightmare that followed. The funeral was a blur of black clothes and pitying faces. Serena played the grieving widow perfectly, her eyes red-rimmed, her voice breaking at all the right moments as she clutched 3-year-old Lily to her chest. I watched her accept condolences with such grace, such apparent devastation that I felt ashamed of the tiny seed of doubt that had planted itself in my mind. David had called me just 2 days before he died. His voice strained in a way I had never heard before. He had said he needed to talk to me about something important, something about Serena, but he wanted to do it in person. We had made plans for Thursday afternoon. He died on Tuesday. I tried to push away my suspicions. Grief does strange things to the mind, I told myself. It makes you see shadows where there is only light. Serena had loved David. I had seen it with my own eyes, had not I? The way she smiled at him, the way she touched his arm, the way she had announced her pregnancy with such joy. Surely I was being paranoid, letting my loss twist my thoughts into dark shapes. But the doubt would not leave me. It grew stronger when Serena refused to let me see Lily more than once a month, always with excuses. The child was sick, or tired, or having a difficult day. When I did see my granddaughter Serena, hovered constantly, watching every interaction with Hawk like intensity. Lily was a quiet child, too quiet for a 3-year-old, with enormous dark eyes that seemed to hold secrets. She did not look much like David, I realized with a start one day. She did not look much like Serena either, with her olive skin and straight black hair. I channeled my grief into something productive. I spent months knitting a baby blanket for Lily using the softest mint green yarn I could find. Every stitch was infused with my love, my longing, my desperate need to maintain some connection to the granddaughter who was being slowly erased from my life. When I finally finished it, I drove to Serena's house, unannounced, the blanket wrapped in tissue paper, my heart full of hope that this gesture might soften her toward me. She answered the door with Lily on her hip, and her face immediately hardened when she saw me standing there. I could see her calculating, trying to figure out how to turn me away without seeming cruel. "Evelyn," she said, her voice flat, "we were not expecting you." "I brought something for Lily," I said, holding out the package. "I made it myself. It took me months." Serena took the package with obvious reluctance, barely glancing at the blanket when she pulled it from the tissue paper. "That was not necessary." "I wanted to," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Serena, please. I barely see her anymore. She is my only connection to David. Can I not just spend a little time with her?" Something flickered across Serena's face, then something cold and calculating that was gone so quickly I almost thought I had imagined it. "Lily needs stability right now, not a constant parade of visitors reminding her of her dead father." The words hit me like a physical blow. I saw Lily watching me with those enormous eyes, and I felt tears spilling down my cheeks. "I am not just a visitor, I am her grandmother. And I am her mother," Serena said, her voice sharp as a blade. "I decide what is best for her, maybe in a few months when things have settled down more." She started to close the door, then paused. "Thank you for the blanket. It was very thoughtful." The door shut in my face before I could respond. I stood there on the porch for a long moment, my hands shaking, my heart pounding. Something was wrong. Something was deeply fundamentally wrong. But I had no proof, nothing concrete, just a mother's intuition screaming that the woman who had married my son was not who she pretended to be. The months crawled by. I saw Lily only twice more brief supervised visits where Serena never left us alone for a single moment. I tried to talk to other family members, but Serena had isolated David so completely in the last year of his life that there was no one else left who knew them well. His friends had drifted away. His coworkers saw him only at the office, and I had been kept at arm's length with 1,000 small excuses and cancellations. Then came last Tuesday, the day that changed everything. I was driving past Serena's house on my way home from the grocery store. I had not planned to stop knowing I would not be welcome, but something made me slow down as I approached. And that is when I saw her. Serena standing at the end of her driveway next to the large garbage can, holding something mint green in her hands. My blanket. The blanket I had poured months of love into, every stitch a prayer for my granddaughter's happiness. I watched in horror as Serena looked around to make sure no one was watching, then stuffed the blanket deep into the trash can. But it was not just the act of throwing it away that froze my blood. It was the expression on her face. Pure, undisguised hatred. She was looking at that blanket the way you might look at something diseased, something that needed to be destroyed. I did not think. I pulled my car over and got out, walking toward her with my heart pounding. She turned at the sound of my footsteps, and I saw panic flash across her face before she smoothed it into a mask of polite surprise. "Evelyn, what a coincidence. I was just taking out the trash." "I saw you throw away the blanket I made for Lily," I said, my voice shaking. "That blanket took me months to make." Serena's eyes narrowed. "It was old and dirty. Lily has plenty of other blankets. You should not go through people's trash, Evelyn. It is unsanitary." "That blanket was not old. I made it less than a year ago." I moved toward the trash can, and Serena actually stepped in front of me, blocking my path. "Do not," she said, and there was something in her voice that made my skin crawl. A threat, a warning. But I was done being warned off. I was done being told what I could and could not do when it came to my own family. I pushed past her, ignoring her protests, and reached into the trash can. My fingers found the soft mint green yarn, and I pulled the blanket out, hugging it to my chest. Serena watched me with an expression I could not quite read. Anger, yes, but also something else. Fear. "You are making a scene," she hissed. "The neighbors will think you are crazy digging through garbage." "I do not care what the neighbors think," I said. "This blanket meant something to me. If Lily does not want it, then I will keep it." I walked back to my car with as much dignity as I could muster, feeling Serena's eyes boring into my back. I put the blanket carefully on the passenger seat, my hands still trembling with rage and hurt. But as I drove away, I could not shake the feeling that I had just witnessed something important, though I could not quite put my finger on what it was. At home, I carried the blanket inside and laid it on my kitchen table. It was not dirty at all. It looked exactly as it had the day I had given it to Serena. So why had she thrown it away with such venom? Why had she tried so hard to stop me from retrieving it? I picked up the blanket to fold it, and that is when I felt it. A hard rectangular shape sewn into the fabric near one corner. My heart started to race. I got my sewing scissors from the drawer and carefully began to cut the stitches. They were different from mine, I realized. Rougher, done in haste. Someone had opened this blanket and sewn something inside. The stitches came away, and I reached into the opening, my fingers closing around something smooth and cold. I pulled it out and stared in disbelief at what I was holding. A cell phone. Old, battered, the screen dark, but definitely a phone hidden away where no one would think to look. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I plugged it into a charger with fingers that felt numb and waited. 5 minutes. 10. Then the screen lit up, showing a low battery symbol and the home screen. No password. Someone had wanted this phone to be accessible if it was ever found. I touched the photos icon and the world tilted sideways. The first image that appeared was explicit pornographic. Serena naked in bed with a man I had never seen before. A man with dark hair and heavy muscles, his hands on her body. Her face captured mid-laugh. The timestamp in the corner said the photo was taken 4 years and 2 months ago, when Serena had been 5 months pregnant with Lily, when she had been married to my son. I swiped to the next photo. More of the same. Serena and this stranger in various positions in what looked like David's own bedroom. I felt bile rise in my throat. My son's bed, the bed he had shared with his wife, defiled by her affair. There were dozens of photos, hundreds maybe, all time-stamped from 4 years ago, spanning several months, all showing Serena in the arms of another man while my son worked long hours to support her while he excitedly prepared for the birth of his first child. I scrolled further, my vision blurring with tears, and found videos. I could not bring myself to watch them, but the thumbnails told me everything I needed to know. This had not been a one-time mistake. This had been a full-blown affair conducted with brazen disregard for David, for their marriage, for everything he had believed in. But it was the text messages that truly destroyed me. I opened the messaging app with fingers that could barely function, and there they were. Conversations between Serena and someone labeled only as M. At first, they were sickeningly romantic. Declarations of love, plans to meet, complaints about David. Serena calling my son boring, saying he was too focused on work, saying she wished she had never married him. Each word was a knife in my heart. But then the messages changed tone. About 3 years and 3 months ago, right around when Lily would have been 6 months old, Serena's texts became desperate angry. "I cannot do this anymore," she wrote. "I cannot pretend to love him. David is suffocating me. He is always around, always asking questions, always wanting to spend time together. He is in the way." M responded, "What do you want me to do about it?" "I want him gone," Serena wrote. "I want him out of my life. There has to be a way." "You are talking crazy. You need to calm down." "I am not crazy. He is the obstacle. If he was not here, we could be together. We could have everything. The insurance money, the house, everything." I stopped breathing. Insurance money. I kept reading, my whole body numb with shock. "You are talking about murder," M wrote. "I am not doing that." "It would not be murder," Serena responded. "It would be an accident. People have accidents all the time. He goes down to the basement to do laundry. He trips on the stairs. He hits his head. So sad. So tragic. No one would question it." "You are insane." "I am practical. And if you really loved me, you would help me. But I see now that you are just like him. Weak. Useless." There was a gap in the messages then, several days with nothing. Then M wrote back, "I have been thinking about what you said. And if we did this, it would have to be perfect. No mistakes, no evidence, and I want half the insurance money, $250,000. That is my price." My vision went dark around the edges. I thought I might faint. They had planned it. They had actually planned to kill my son. I scrolled frantically through more messages and found what I was looking for. A message from Serena sent 2 days before David died. Tuesday, 3 p.m. He will be home alone. I told him I had a doctor's appointment with Lily, so he took the afternoon off work to do laundry and clean the basement. He always goes down there. Make sure it looks natural. An accident. No one can suspect anything. I will be there. Wear gloves. No fingerprints. Serena, I know what I am doing. The phone slipped from my hands and clattered onto the table. I was making sounds I did not recognize somewhere between sobs and screams. My son. My beautiful boy. They had killed him. It had not been an accident. Serena and her lover had murdered David in cold blood for insurance money. I do not know how long I sat there crying so hard I could not breathe. When I finally calmed enough to think my first instinct was to call the police, but something stopped me. I needed more. I needed to understand who M was, what else Serena had done, why she had kept this phone at all. If she was smart enough to plan a murder, why leave evidence? Unless she had not meant to leave it. Unless she had hidden the phone for some reason, sewn it into a blanket for safekeeping, and then forgotten about it until the blanket itself became a reminder she wanted to destroy. My hands were still shaking as I picked up my own phone and called B. She answered on the second ring. Evelyn, are you all right? You sound terrible. Come over, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Come over right now. I found something. Something about David. She was at my door in less than 10 minutes. I showed her the phone, watched her face go white as she looked through the photos, the videos, the messages. When she finished, she sat down heavily in one of my kitchen chairs and stared at me with an expression of absolute horror. Oh my God, she whispered. Evelyn, she killed him. That woman killed your son. I know, I said and started crying again. B came around the table and wrapped her arms around me, and we cried together for a long time. When we had both calmed down, B looked at me with her sharp, determined eyes. We need to find out who M is. We need more evidence, and then we need to go to the police with everything. How do we find out who he is? I asked. B thought for a moment. Social media. If Serena was having an affair with him, there must be some connection online. Give me your laptop. We spent the next 3 hours going through Serena's Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn profiles. Serena was not particularly active on social media, but there were enough posts to give us leads. We looked at every person who commented on her photos, every friend in her list, every tagged photo. And finally, we found him. Marcus Thorne, a construction supervisor who had worked on a project near the hospital where Serena was a nurse. In photos from 4 years ago, he appeared in the background of several pictures at a hospital charity event. In one, he was standing next to Serena, both of them holding champagne glasses, their body language suggesting an intimacy that went beyond casual acquaintance. That is him, I said, my voice shaking. That has to be Marcus. B pulled up his profile. He is still in the area, works for Thornbridge Construction. I bet if we dig deeper, we can find more connections. We kept searching, and the picture became clearer. Marcus had worked on the renovation of the hospital where Serena was employed. They would have had plenty of opportunities to meet to start an affair. His profile was sparse, but there were a few photos of him on job sites looking exactly like the man in the photos on the hidden phone. We need to get into Serena's house, B said suddenly. We need to find more evidence. Insurance documents, bank records, anything that shows she benefited from David's death. I felt a chill run down my spine. How are we supposed to do that? She barely lets me in the door. You are going to call her, B said, her voice firm. You are going to tell her you want to see Lily, that you have a special gift for her. Be persistent. Do not take no for an answer. When you are there, keep Serena occupied. I will come up with some excuse to come by, and while you are distracting her, I will look around. B, that is breaking and entering. No, it is not. I will be an invited guest, and we are trying to solve a murder. Your son's murder. Her eyes were hard. Are you in or not? I thought about David, about the way he had smiled at me the last time I saw him, about how he had said he needed to talk to me about something important. I thought about Lily being raised by a monster, and I thought about justice. I am in, I said. The next morning, I called Serena. She answered on the 4th ring, her voice irritated. What is it, Evelyn? I want to see Lily, I said, trying to keep my voice steady and not reveal the fury boiling inside me. I have a present for her, a very special present. I am coming over today. Today is not good. Lily is not feeling well. Then I will bring her soup, I said firmly. Serena, I am not asking. I am coming over at 2 o'clock. I will be there for 15 minutes. You can time me if you want, but I am seeing my granddaughter. There was a long pause. I could practically hear her calculating, trying to figure out how to refuse without seeming like a complete monster. Finally, she sighed. Fine, 2 o'clock, 15 minutes, not a second more. Thank you, I said, and hung up before she could change her mind. At exactly 2 o'clock, I rang Serena's doorbell with Bea waiting in her car down the street. Serena opened the door with Lily on her hip. The little girl's eyes lit up when she saw me, and she reached out her arms. My heart broke all over again. "Grandma," she said, her voice high and sweet. It was one of the few times I had heard her sound truly happy. "Hello, sweetheart," I said, taking her from Serena's reluctant arms. "I missed you so much." Serena stepped back to let me in her face tight with disapproval. 15 minutes, she reminded me. I sat down on the couch with Lily pulling out the small teddy bear I had brought. It was not anything special, but Lily hugged it like it was the most precious thing in the world. I talked to her softly, asking about her favorite foods, her favorite games, anything to keep her engaged and keep Serena's attention on us. After about 5 minutes, the doorbell rang. Serena frowned and went to answer it. I heard Bea's voice loud and cheerful. "Serena, I was just in the neighborhood and saw Evelyn's car. I thought I would pop in and say hello. You do not mind, do you?" I could hear the tension in Serena's voice. "Actually, this is not a great time." "Oh, it will just be a minute," Bea said, already pushing her way inside. "I wanted to see little Lily too. It has been ages." Serena looked trapped. She could not throw out 2 elderly women without seeming heartless. "Fine," she said through gritted teeth, "but I am in the middle of things." Of course, Bea said brightly. "Do you mind if I use your restroom?" Serena pointed down the hallway. "First door on the left." Bea disappeared down the hall, and I focused on keeping Serena distracted. "She has grown so much," I said, bouncing Lily on my knee. "Tell me, how is she doing in daycare? Is she making friends?" Serena launched into a monologue about Lily's activities, clearly eager to prove what a good mother she was. I nodded and smiled and asked questions, all while my heart pounded with fear about what Bea might find. Bea was gone for almost 10 minutes. When she finally emerged, her face was carefully neutral, but I saw the way her hand shook slightly as she tucked her phone into her pocket. She had found something. "Well, I should let you ladies get back to your visit," Bea said cheerfully. "So nice to see you both." She left, and I spent another 5 minutes with Lily before Serena made it clear my time was up. I kissed my granddaughter goodbye, my heart aching at the thought of leaving her in that house with that woman, and drove straight to Bea's house. She was waiting for me in her kitchen, her face pale. "I found it," she said without preamble. "I found all of it." She pulled out her phone and showed me the photos she had taken. Insurance documents showing a life insurance policy on David for $500,000 with Serena as the sole beneficiary. Bank statements showing the entire amount had been deposited into Serena's account 3 months after David's death, and then showing a transfer of exactly $200,000 to an account belonging to Marcus Thorne. "She paid him," I whispered. "She actually paid him to kill my son." "There is more," Bea said grimly. She swiped to the next photo. "I found this in a locked box in her closet." It was a birth certificate, but not the one I expected. This one listed Lily's mother as Sophia Perez, not Serena. The father's name was blank, and the birth date was 2 months earlier than the date Serena had always claimed. "Lily is not Serena's daughter," I said slowly, trying to process what I was seeing. "She is not even David's daughter. Who is Sophia Perez?" "I do not know," Bea said, "but we are going to find out." We spent the rest of the afternoon searching for information about Sophia Perez. It did not take long to find articles about her disappearance 4 years ago. She had been a young woman, only 22, working as a housekeeper. She had given birth to a daughter and then vanished 2 months later. Police had investigated but found no leads. The case had gone cold. Until last month, a more recent article reported that Sophia Perez's remains had been found in an abandoned lot scheduled for development. The cause of death was blunt force trauma to the skull, the exact same way David had died. I stared at the article, my mind reeling. She killed her too. Serena killed Sophia to take her baby, and then she killed David to get his money. "We need to go to the police," Bea said firmly. "Now, tonight, we have enough evidence." We drove to the police station and asked to speak to a detective. We were shown to a small room where a tall, serious-looking man introduced himself as Detective Jackson. I pulled out the hidden phone and laid it on the table between us, then began to tell him everything we had found. He listened without interrupting, his face growing darker as I spoke. When I finished, he picked up the phone and scrolled through it himself, his jaw clenched. "This is evidence in a murder," he said. "Where exactly did you find this?" I told him about the blanket, about seeing Serena throw it away, about the desperation with which she had tried to stop me from taking it back. "She forgot it was there," I said. "Or maybe she thought no one would ever find it, but she panicked when she realized I had the blanket." Detective Jackson made several phone calls bringing in other officers specialists. They photographed every message, every photo, every piece of data on that phone. He took my statement and B's along with the photos B had taken in Serena's house. "I remember this case," he said grimly. "David Vance. We ruled it an accident because there were no signs of struggle, no evidence of foul play. But if what you are telling me is true, someone held him down or pushed him down those stairs. We need to reopen the investigation." "What about Sophia Perez?" I asked. "Are you investigating her death too?" "We are now," he said. "And I can tell you something interesting. The lot where her body was found, it belongs to Thornbridge Construction, the company where Marcus Thorne works." My blood ran cold. "He killed her too. He and Serena together. They killed Sophia to take Lily, and then they killed David to get his money." Detective Jackson stood up. "I need you to stay here while we process this information. Do not go home, do not contact anyone. Especially do not let Serena know you have been here." But it was too late for that, because at that moment, another officer burst into the room. "Detective, we just got a call from the airport. A woman matching Serena Vance's description is trying to board a flight to Mexico with a small child. Security stopped her because the child's passport looked suspicious." Detective Jackson was moving before the officer finished speaking. "Send units now. Do not let that plane take off." The next 2 hours were chaos. We waited at the station while officers raced to the airport. B held my hand tightly, both of us too afraid to speak. I kept thinking about Lily, about how terrified she must be. Finally, Detective Jackson returned, his face grim but satisfied. "We have her. She was attempting to flee the country with Lily $500,000 in cash in her luggage and a fake passport. We have arrested Marcus Thorne as well. He is already trying to make a deal." I felt my knees go weak. "Is Lily all right?" "She is fine. A little scared but unharmed. Child Services has her now. We will need to sort out custody given that she is not legally David's child." "She is my granddaughter," I said fiercely. "David raised her as his own. He loved her. I do not care whose blood is in her veins. She is family." Detective Jackson nodded. "We will work it out, but first we need to get justice for your son." Over the next week, the investigation exploded. Marcus Thorne, faced with evidence that he had helped commit multiple murders, turned on Serena completely. He confessed to everything: how Serena had seduced him during the hospital renovation, how she had manipulated him into helping her steal Lily from Sophia Perez, convincing him that Sophia was an unfit mother, a drug addict who would harm the baby, how she had pressured him to kill Sophia when Sophia started asking questions about getting her daughter back, how Serena had promised him money, love, a future together if he would just help her with one more thing and get rid of David. He admitted to being at David's house that Tuesday afternoon, to waiting in the basement while David came down the stairs with a basket of laundry, to grabbing him from behind and throwing him down the remaining steps, then making sure he hit his head hard enough on the concrete floor to ensure death. He had worn gloves, left no prints, made it look like a tragic accident. But the most shocking revelation came when Detective Jackson started looking into Serena's history at the hospital. They exhumed the bodies of 3 elderly patients who had died under her care, all of whom had recently changed their wills to leave money to the kind nurse who had been so good to them. All 3 bodies showed signs of poisoning that had been missed during the original autopsies. Serena was not just a murderer. She was a serial killer. Sophia Perez, David, 3 elderly patients, and possibly more victims they had not yet identified. The media descended on the story like wolves. It was everywhere. The Black Widow nurse, they called her. The monster in Scrubs. David's face was on every news channel, my handsome, smiling boy who had been betrayed by the woman he loved. The trial was set for 6 months later, and it was a circus. The courtroom was packed every single day. I sat in the front row with Bea beside me, forcing myself to watch as the evidence was presented. The phone, the photos, the messages, the bank records, the testimonies from Marcus Thorne, from the families of Serena's other victims, from the forensic experts who had examined David's body and found evidence consistent with being forcibly thrown downstairs rather than falling. Serena showed no remorse. She sat at the defense table with perfect posture, her face a mask of cold indifference. Even when Marcus testified about her crying as she begged him to help her get rid of David, even when they played audio of her telling an undercover officer in jail that she would do it all again if she could, she showed nothing. No tears, no emotion, no humanity. On the last day of the trial, I was allowed to make a victim impact statement. I stood up on shaking legs and walked to the witness stand. I looked directly at Serena, this woman who had destroyed my family, and I spoke. "You did not just kill my son," I said, my voice steady despite the tears streaming down my face. "You killed Sophia Perez, a young mother who just wanted to raise her baby. You killed Daniel Miller Lilly's biological father, who died in a mysterious car accident after Sophia was murdered. You killed 3 innocent elderly people who trusted you. You destroyed every life you touched." I saw Serena's eyes flicker toward me, but she said nothing. I continued, my voice growing stronger. "You killed David for money, for a house, for an insurance payout. You killed him because he was inconvenient, because he was in the way of what you wanted. But you could not kill his love. You could not kill the goodness he put into this world, and you could not kill my love for my granddaughter, the child you stole and tried to claim as your own." I looked at the jury, at the judge, at the packed courtroom. "I want you to know that Lily is safe now. She is loved. She knows the truth about her mother Sophia, about her father Daniel, about David, who loved her as his own daughter. And she will grow up knowing that evil like Serena's does not win. Justice wins. Truth wins. Love wins." I sat down and Bea squeezed my hand. I watched as Serena's attorney tried to argue for leniency, claiming she had been manipulated by Marcus, that she had mental health issues, that she deserved a second chance. But the jury was not moved. They had seen the evidence. They had heard Marcus describe how Serena had been the mastermind behind everything, how she had threatened him when he tried to back out, how she had coldly calculated every murder down to the smallest detail. The verdict came back after only 4 hours of deliberation. Guilty on all counts. 6 counts of first-degree murder, multiple counts of fraud forgery and attempted kidnapping. The judge handed down 6 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. Marcus Thorne received 25 years for his role as an accomplice. I watched them take Serena away in handcuffs. She looked back at me once, and I saw something in her eyes that chilled me to the bone. Not regret, not remorse. Just cold, calculating hatred that she had been caught, that an old woman with a knitted blanket had been her downfall. The custody hearing for Lily came 2 weeks later. I petitioned for full guardianship, and with Bea's help, I hired a lawyer to make sure everything was done properly. The judge listened to my testimony about David's relationship with Lily, about how he had believed she was his daughter and loved her with all his heart. He listened to character witnesses who spoke about my ability to care for a young child despite my age. He reviewed the statements from child psychologists who said Lily was bonding well with me and called me her grandmother. And then he granted me full custody. Lily was coming home with me, forever. The day I brought her home, really home, not for a brief supervised visit, but to stay. She stood in the middle of my living room holding the teddy bear I had given her. She looked so small, so fragile, with those enormous dark eyes that had seen too much pain for someone so young. "Is this my house now?" she asked quietly. I knelt down in front of her and took her small hands in mine. "This is your home, sweetheart. For as long as you want it to be. You are safe here. You are loved here." "Can I call you Grandma?" she whispered. "You can call me anything you want," I said, fighting back tears. She thought for a moment, her little face serious. "Can I call you Mom, Grandma, because my other mommy is gone, but you take care of me like a mommy and a grandma together?" I pulled her into my arms and held her tight, crying into her soft, dark hair. "Mom, Grandma is perfect," I said. "That is exactly what I am." The years that followed were not easy. Lily had nightmares. She had questions about her birth mother, Sophia, about David, who she still remembered as Daddy, about why Serena had done the terrible things she did. I answered every question as honestly as I could in ways her young mind could understand. Bea was there for both of us, a second grandmother, a constant source of support and love. I took Lily to therapy. I enrolled her in a wonderful school. I made sure she knew about Sophia Perez, showed her pictures, told her stories about the young woman who had loved her enough to bring her into this world. We visited Sophia's grave together, and Lily left flowers and drawings. "I wish I could have known her," Lily said once, standing by the headstone. "But I am glad I have you." "Your Mama Sophia would be so proud of you," I told her. "And so is David watching over you from heaven." As Lily grew older, she became curious about her biological father, Daniel Miller. With Detective Jackson's help, we tracked down Daniel's parents, Lily's other grandparents. They were wonderful people, heartbroken by their son's death, but overjoyed to discover they had a granddaughter. They became part of our family, part of Lily's support system, giving her even more love and connection to her roots. Lily bloomed under all this love. She was smart, compassionate, curious about everything. She loved science and asking questions about how things worked. When she was 12, she told me she wanted to become a doctor. "I want to help people," she said. "I want to make sure no one else has to suffer like Sophia did, like Daddy David did." I watched her grow into a remarkable young woman. She graduated high school with honors, got a full scholarship to college, and then went on to medical school. The day she graduated with her degree in pediatric medicine, I sat in the audience with Bea beside me, both of us crying with pride. Lily walked across that stage with her head held high, and when they announced her name, Dr. Lily Vance Perez, I felt David's presence so strongly it was like he was sitting right next to me. After the ceremony, Lily found me in the crowd. She was wearing her white coat, her dark eyes shining with tears and joy. She threw her arms around me. "I did it, Mom, Grandma. I really did it." "You did, sweetheart. I am so proud of you. Your Mama Sophia would be proud. David would be proud." "I know," she said softly. "I feel them with me. Every day I feel them cheering me on." She pulled back and looked at me seriously. "But you know who I am most grateful for you. You could have let me disappear into the system. You could have been too hurt, too angry at what Serena did to want anything to do with me. But you fought for me. You saved me. You gave me a life full of love." "You are my granddaughter," I said simply. "You always were from the moment David held you in his arms. Blood does not make a family. Love does." Now at 25, Lily works at a children's hospital caring for the most vulnerable patients with a gentleness and dedication that takes my breath away. She has a beautiful apartment, wonderful friends, a life full of purpose and meaning. She visits me every week, sometimes twice a week, and we have dinner together and talk about everything and nothing. Last week, she came over with a bag of mint green yarn. "I want to learn how to knit," she said. "I want you to teach me. I want to make a blanket just like the one you made for me, the one that saved us all." We sat on my couch together, and I showed her how to cast on how to hold the needles, how to make each stitch with care and patience. As we worked, I told her the whole story again, every detail, because she needed to hear it. She needed to understand the journey we had been on together. "That blanket was supposed to be thrown away," I said. "Serena tried to destroy it, tried to hide the evidence of her crimes forever. But sometimes the universe has other plans. Sometimes the smallest things, the things we think do not matter, turn out to be the most important things of all." Lily nodded her fingers, working carefully with the yarn. "A blanket knitted with love became the key to finding the truth. It is almost like magic." "Not magic," I said. "Justice and love. Those are the two most powerful forces in the world." We worked in comfortable silence for a while, the clicking of needles the only sound. Then Lily looked up at me with those beautiful dark eyes. "Do you ever regret it, going through that garbage can, cutting open the blanket, everything that came after? Do you ever wish you had just let it go?" I thought about that question carefully. I thought about the pain of learning the truth about David's death, the horror of discovering what Serena had done, the agony of the trial, and all the dark revelations that followed. But then I thought about Lily safe and thriving, using her life to help others. I thought about justice being served about Serena behind bars where she could never hurt anyone again. I thought about Sophia Perez and Daniel Miller finally getting the acknowledgement and justice they deserved. Not for 1 second, I said. Every moment of pain was worth it to save you, to honor David's memory, to make sure the truth came to light. Lily squeezed my hand. I love you, Mom, Grandma. I love you too, sweetheart, more than you will ever know. We finished that first section of the blanket together, our hands working in tandem, creating something beautiful from simple yarn and patience and love. When we held it up to admire our work, I could not help but think about how much had changed since I had knitted the first mint green blanket all those years ago. That blanket had been a symbol of hope of a grandmother's love reaching out to a grandchild she barely knew. It had become a hiding place for terrible secrets. And then it had become the key that unlocked the truth and brought a monster to justice. Now this new blanket we were making together was a symbol of survival, of resilience, of the unbreakable bond between two people who had survived the worst and come out stronger on the other side. Some people might say I was lucky to find that phone, that it was chance coincidence, a fortunate accident, but I do not believe in accidents anymore. I believe that love creates its own kind of destiny. My love for David drove me to seek the truth about his death. My love for Lily gave me the courage to face that truth, no matter how horrible. And that love continues to guide us both as we build our lives together. Serena thought she could get away with murder. She thought she was clever enough, cold enough, ruthless enough to take everything she wanted and leave no trace. But she underestimated the power of a mother's love, a grandmother's determination, and a simple hand-knitted blanket that refused to be thrown away. That blanket changed everything. It gave me back my granddaughter. It gave Lily a chance at a real life. It brought justice for David, for Sophia, for Daniel, and for all of Serena's victims. And it taught me that sometimes the smallest acts of love, the simplest gestures, can have the power to change the world. Today, Lily is thriving. I am at peace. And somewhere, I like to think David is watching over us both, proud of the family we have become. The family that his love helped create even after he was gone. So here is what I want you to take away from my story. Never underestimate the power of persistence. Never give up on seeking the truth, even when it seems impossible. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong. And most importantly, never underestimate the power of love. Love that knits a blanket for a grandchild. Love that refuses to let go. Love that fights for justice no matter the cost. That mint green blanket saved my family, but really it was love that saved us all. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had a moment where something small led you to a life-changing truth? Have you ever had to fight for someone you loved against impossible odds? What would you have done in my place? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story moved you, if it made you think about the power of love and justice, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it, because the truth matters, justice matters, and love above all else always wins in the end.